by this
Hey guys, Jacob Risso Audette here. Today I'm bringing you my Viking deck profile. Oh yeah, the very last thing is this. The peaceful guy is a big snake. Because of Venom snake by many of the bad guy.
Harking to how both of them spread Big Boss's legacy across the world in the universe, but also in how the player, especially longtime fans, personally helped share stories about Big Boss and Metal Gear as a whole. We've even written our own history, Diamond Dogs, a faction which is both Venom's, but as I mentioned earlier, the players as well. It is a fully customizable PMC built from the ground up by us that will later become the famous Outer Heaven. We are Big Boss as much as John is, and as if in an inverse of the ending of Metal Gear Solid 2, where Raiden rejects the player's control over his life, to reinforce that the player has control over Boss and his legacy, Big Boss takes on the identity out for him by the player, literally. As to go into hiding, he adopts the name and face of the soldier that we designed when we started playing the game. The players and Big Boss literally swap identities, which I feel is a really strong story, told in a way only a video game can. This is why Venom's name is also sometimes shortened to V, as not only to play with the other tagline of V has come to, with the player fully awakening or coming to their role in the world, but also this game is entirely Venom's in nature, hence why it is called Metal Gear Solid V and not 5.
King Avatar Curran, Hika, Avatar Curran.
Now, it should be mentioned that Venom is still a character within the world of Metal Gear. A pretty great one, as long before he became the Phantom of Big Boss, he was a soldier working under him in the Army Without Borders, MSF. His talents were considered to be second only to the Bosses, and even Boss himself considered him to be one of the best men they had. Eventually, due to his talents and loyalty, he was chosen to assist Big Boss in a mission to infiltrate Camp Omega and rescue both Chico and Paz from captivity. His role in the operation was that of combat medic and stationed aboard the helicopter intended to support Boss during his infiltration. And after Boss successfully rescued the two, he was assigned to check both prisoners. While Chico seemed clear, Paz had a distinct stomach wound, one which Boss correctly assumed to be hiding a bomb. And after an emergency surgery, Venom's medical expertise allowed them to remove it without causing any major internal damage to Paz, disposing of Skullface's little gift into the ocean below. But something felt off. Wanting to be safe, Boss ordered Venom to check Paz over one more time, and the two discovered a smaller bomb placed in a rather uncomfortable location. Moving quickly, they removed it as well, saving Paz's life. But soon, the helicopter would arrive on base to find it under attack. And after the destruction of MSF and the recovery chaos, Paz sprung to life, and likely due to Miller's own manic screaming, elevated her level of panic and delirium. Boss's words about the bombs she opened the helicopter's door and jumped to the ocean below, unintentionally allowing an XOF soldier to fire an RPG at the chopper and landing a near-direct those inside, which means that the Nothing Kaiju, doom. Those still on board the chopper all found themselves critically injured.
Coaching soldier,
entered a coma, while Miller
Coach Captain
Bearston, but recovered quickly, and Chico, along with the pilot for that mission, both
Secret Function Outfit.
Following this, over the next 9 years,
Viking
Boss
Avatar,
and Venom would rest in a hospital
Secret Viking Avatar, Garunic, Secret Viking, Garunic.
The two of them
would begin to recover.
Boss waking up a few months before Venom and making
one
plans
normal
with Boss
and
on what
one
they would do
ultra
going forward. Deciding that Boss would stay in the hospital and watch over the unconscious Venom for now,
and one True King as our adventure.
Preparing for the day that XOF discovered their location and attacked, and soon enough, Venom would begin to wake from his coma as well. He learned of his condition, but due to the injuries, facial reconstruction surgery, and some hypnotherapy, Venom also fully believed that he was Big Boss. And soon after he woke up, but before he had recovered, assassins had infiltrated the building. A silent one breaking into the room that Venom was recovering in and stealthily eliminating the nurse and doctor, one by one, before eventually aiming her weapon down at him. Luckily, he was then rescued by his roommate, a bandaged man calling himself Ishmael, who referred to Venom specifically as Ahab. Ishmael realized the danger of the situation and wanted to get the two moving, injecting Venom with a drug intended to get his heart pumping, and the two of them attempted their escape. Though soon enough, they were brought to a halt by an XOF hit squad, as well as the flaming spirit of vengeance, Man on Fire. Though thanks to Ishmael's quick thinking and Venom's slowly returning skills, the two are able to escape mostly unharmed. Eventually, Ocelot would recover Venom, and the two would begin down the path of bringing the legend back to life.
Now go! Let the legend come back to life.
Though, what Venom didn't see here is Ishmael's true identity, as the man under the
Never
bandage
spells.
was Big Boss all along.
The
Though there are a
whole
couple subtle hints to this that are layered throughout the
Hair of the
opening, that would help
Abyss.
you realize it way earlier than expected.
Trade-in.
First, of course, the most obvious.
We can
Ishmael
go.
and Venom have the same voice actor.
Aren't all the Fire Kings?
The woman?
Fire King Skyburn.
Which is actually true as far back
Check out
as
Fire
Zero,
Kings.
though the medic there had his
Fire
voice
King
shifted down.
Gotta get it out.
Fire King Sanctuary.
You have to open her now.
Then, of course, you have,
Fire King
when
Island.
saving Venom, Ishmael makes mention of talking to himself,
Talking to yourself.
as Venom has already undergone facial reconstruction surgery to look like Big Boss. As well, since Boss and Venom shared the same room, if you look at Venom's bed next to Ishmael's bed, you'll see that Ishmael's bed is much more flush with ceremonial
Now for the
flowers,
crafts.
the stars of Bethlehem, where we, as Venom,
Crafts.
had a
There's
single
king
bed-sized
description.
vase whose flower
Project
wasn't
Scipio.
even left for him.
Heaven and
It was
Ponage.
taken from Big Boss's side of the room, adopting a flower the same way we adopt.
Fire
an
King
identity.
Cry.
Though I'd be lying if I said Phantom Pain didn't make an attempt to try to
Horn
convince
Phantom
you that
Beast.
Ishmael may not even be real throughout this entire opening. Firstly, the line about talking
Blast
to
of
yourself
King.
could be very easily interpreted as a bit of self-awareness, as we aren't aware right away what
Phoenix
the big
Wing-
reveal of the game
Wind
is.
Blast.
Then, oftentimes throughout the opening, Ishmael will vanish and reappear throughout
Location
the level,
of Fire
even
Kings.
having a fake-out death at one point. And then he completely vanishes after
Flames
the
on counter.
ambulance crash during the escape. And future information delivered
Some
later
judgment.
in the game try to lay seeds of doubt in your own mind. As from the
Power
briefing
6
tapes
down.
given to you by Ocelot, the player
And
is made aware
backfire.
that Venom's wounds may cause him to experience hallucinations.
Now the shrapnel in your skull is pressing on your optic nerve. I'm told any hard impact could have an effect on your visual cortex. Yeah, the doctor mentioned that. Your brain might process visual information incorrectly. In other words,
No vector
you
monsters.
could have hallucinations.
Two.
See things that aren't
Dire
there,
Blaze, the
not
Force
see
of
things
Suns.
they really are.
Both common.
You experience any of that?
So, it isn't impossible to believe that Ishmael may have been a Tyler
Diamond
Durden
Eye
style
Wolf.
hallucination.
Number
especially given
59.
how much of a movie
Overcooked
buff Kojima
Cook.
was. And finally, the two names used here
Cook
are
and
important
Cook.
as well. Ishmael and Ahab. They are the protagonists of the
Coach
novel
King
Moby
Gigantic.
Dick, and relate directly to both
Giant
the
Trainer.
initial marketing of the game and, of course,
Group
the
Standard.
main theme
Here
of
near the
Metal
Fire
Gear
Kings.
Solid V,
Ta
Venom,
ta
and Big Boss. Then, of course,
ta.
being revenge.
Eternity.
As first we have Ishmael, who is the initial protagonist of Moby
And
Dick, but just
another
functions
Fire
more
Drummer
as a
Blaze.
first-person narrator for most of the story, and eventually passes the protagonist role onto Captain Ahab. And this is reflected in Big Boss's role in Metal Gear Solid V quite well, as he was the protagonist of Ground Zeroes, a game released as a prequel to V, and eventually passes the role of protagonist on to a person he literally calls Ahab, which, speaking of, Venom clearly references a lot of Captain Ahab in his character, with Ahab being a once promising sailor turned bitter whaler after a previous encounter with the titular Moby Dick, who left his face scarred, his mood soured, and of course, ripped off his leg. Venom experienced a similar situation, with his scarring and missing limb coming from being ambushed by his own pale whale in the form of Skullface, the shadow of Big Boss and leader of the XOF unit. These injuries are also the major inspiration for both of these Ahabs to pursue the path of revenge and hunt their white whale, abandoning their former lives. In the case of Venom, he literally sacrifices his identity as a person to become a godly figure like Big Boss, while Ahab sacrifices his past life and key traits of his person, like his face razor and smoking pipe, to sharpen himself into a true whale slayer. The whales of the story also match thematically quite well, with the titular Moby Dick being personified by Captain Ahab as the ultimate embodiment of evil, when in reality, the creature is merely a representation of the ferocity and unpredictability of nature itself, whereas Skullface, and by proxy Cypher, is used in a similar fashion in the Phantom Pain, built up as this ultimate evil force in the world that Venom and Diamond Dogs must stop, and they even represent the unpredictability of nature by making Skullface's ultimate weapon the one that will surpass Metal Gear, a biological one. As well, the way Venom and Ahab lead their crew is similar in nature. With Venom, he is a terrifying but charismatic figure who leads his men in a dictatorial fashion, with later segments of the game even having 1984-style Big Boss is watching you posters all throughout the base. But yet, he still speaks to his crew as if he's never above anyone who serves under him. He considers Diamond Dog to be his family, and it's shown best during the low morale Fight Club event, where Venom equates stabbing any of his fellow soldiers to stabbing him personally.
Listen, we don't draw weapons on comrades. Look around you. This is your family.
And forcing them to go through with it so that they will never turn weapons on their allies again. This cult of personality inspired those amongst Diamond Dogs to look towards Venom with respect. The same way the crew of the E-Plot revered Ahab, one of the leads even considering Ahab to be an ungodly, godlike man. Though, unlike Ahab, whose endless pursuit of Moby Dick eventually led to his own demise at the hands of the whale, Venom gets his, with the final clash with Skullface representing perfectly his connection to Ahab. As with every shot fired into Skullface, Venom's entire character...
Hey guys, most of these...
...to his hospital appearance, when he was literally...
John Lockbird.
Now, while Skullface and Venom's rivalry is
A Volcano Handmaiden.
but ironic if you look at it from a
Regular Fight King
I
Comics.
think it's great, as they were both shaped into the man they are now by Big Boss and his legend. They are the Shadow and the Phantom, a man who was given the purpose of perfecting a legend, while the other
Foxfire.
is a figure who selflessly spreads it.
Firebrand
While
Heinous.
Skullface is one of the few people in the whole world of Metal Gear who is completely unaffected
Burner.
by Big
Gunner
Boss's
Sparks.
legend, as he knows when and where Boss failed on his missions, even openly mocking Big Boss
Fire
to his
King of
allies.
Darkonics. Coke King Soldier Wolfbark.
Leaps and bounds, making a
Spirit of Flames.
their whole day, and giving your best friend
We'll find some guard.
for their best life. Science did that.
Fencing Fire Ferret. Crashing that fight in French. Fencing Fire Ferret. Fencing Fire Ferret. Also, this video playing in the background. The pieces. The viciousness of Venomson. Coming, basically, from Snake. By Manny the bad guy. Excuse me for a moment. Sorry, I had to go into. Sorry, I go into mission. Hey, alright. Fucking after our Chica. Fucking after Creed. Fucking after Benarong. Fucking after Chara. Flame Fire Dog. UFO Turtle. Farting Avatar. Ragdoll. Ragwally. Girl. Player of Malice. Hazy Flame Hippogriff. Alpha Massive Beast. Fighting out the Corinne. Blaster, Dragon War Infernos. Blazing Mars. The Blazing Mars. Dokkan, the Mad Flame Kaiju. Bonefire Colossus. Coach King Soldier Baron. Sacred Phoenix and Upfish. Sacred fucking Avatar Gurnix. Two fucking avatars, Avatar Gurnixes, one normal, one ultra rare, and one True King as active finisher. Now the monsters. Here are the monsters. No, first of all, traps. Traps. Dark Hole. Power of the Abyss. Fade-In. Rekindling. Onslaught of the Fire Kings. Fire King Sky Burn. Circle of Fire Kings. Fire King Genki. Viking Sanctuary, Viking Island, now for the crabs, Chain Destruction, Tanker Tribute, Convenient Permanence, Sparkle Fire, Canary, Blast of Cain, Phoenix Ring, Wind Blast, Horned Phantom Beast, Escaping of Vikings, Favorite Counter, Psalm Judgment, Power Sink Stone, Power Sink Stone, and Backfire. That's throwing traps. These are throwing traps. These are throwing traps. Having it. Monsters. Never click monsters. 2 guard plays the Force of Sun. Poof Nowhere. Diamond Die Wolf. Number 59 Cook. Coach King Gigant Trainer. Constantly and the Fire Kings. And not the Fire Drummer, the Fire Drum Blaze. That's for the extra deck. That's my deck profile that's my fucking deck profile. Yeah, this is when Jacob Risso Audette signing out, and please comment whatever, please post your comments of what I should add to my Fire King deck. This is Jacob Risso Audette signing out. Bye everyone. This is my Fire King deck. This is Jacob Risso Audette signing out. Bye.